Hey everyone, this is Mary Beth McAndrews from Dread Central, and I am here today with the director and two of the cast members from the upcoming movie The Long Night, director Rich Ragsdale, and then stars Scout Taylor Compton and Nolan Gerard Funk. Hi guys, super stoked to chat with you. Um,
Yay.
so this film is wild, like to use one word to describe it. And I was just curious from all three of you, what drew you to this project?
Well, I'm
Rich?
not. Yeah, let's start with Rich.
Oh no, so Nolan, you first.
Well, for me, it was, it was just, it felt like it had these fun kind of comedic elements while also being a little bit unique. It sounds like a sort of a typical home invasion story at first, but then you add in all the other layers, and it kind of felt like something that we didn't quite know what it was going to be until we got there, but we knew we were going in with a lot of creative freedom to just kind of see what we could come up with in this limited amount of time in this great location with this vast amount of space. I'm a fan of sort of just jumping in if it feels right. And that was this.
Cool.
I had worked with Rich before on a movie called Ghost House. So when he called me, I was anxious to work with him again. And, I had worked with a cinematographer who I know like just makes everything so beautiful. So I was excited with how it was going to look, and I knew it was going to look really great. And then I found out that Nolan was attached to it, and I'd worked with him on a movie prior, and it just kind of was like bringing like a gang back together, and the script and the character with Grace, she wasn't like this. She wasn't a victim. She had some strength to her, which I'm drawn to in this genre. So all of the above, I just was kind of very excited about getting my hand on this film.
Sweet.
Yeah, for me, it was a producer friend of mine called me and was like, "Hey, we're in South Carolina and we need a director. You want to make a movie?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure, why not?" And it was basically they afforded me the opportunity to take this script that I think a lot of people have been messed. There were like 3 different versions of the script by the time I got there, and it was they were like, you can do whatever you want, really. I mean, you had these set parameters like the location and sort of the general narrative beats, but they let me redesign the whole thing, like design new bad guys. A friend of mine, Rob Shep, he was the writer. He came in and kind of started rewriting the script from the ground up, and he was rewriting as we were shooting the film. It was a real adventure. So I was afforded a lot of creative freedom, but there were a lot of strictures, and that was the challenge and the freedom at the same time were the two things that drew me to the project.
I am obsessed with the villain design in this movie. Like every time you show like the tableau of the cult members, I was like, this is the coolest cult and also the most terrifying cult I've ever seen. And I wanted to hear more about how you designed them, because they have like, that familiar skull vibe, but also they don't all have the same mask, and they all have they look almost like a chessboard of like different rankings of people, which was really cool. So I just wanted to hear more about that.
Rich, you did like a complete makeover when you came
totally
and got to this project. I knew Rich is an artist as well. His drawings are insane. I have actually a couple around my house, so I knew that they were going to look amazing.
Yeah, we drew inspiration from a lot of different places to sort of create this kind of almost sort of pantheistic kind of thing. So it wasn't just like the pagan skull masks, but we had like kind of the guys with the big pointy heads, or like the Eastern European penitents from like, Estonia and Poland and places like that. And so we were kind of drawing on all these influences. And it's funny that you said that you picked up on that there's kind of a ranking, because in the script, Rob had written about them almost being sort of like a military, so that there's like a leader and there's a hierarchy in their design and in their behaviors, their actions. So it's kind of, I'm glad that you picked that up. Actually, that's very cool.
That's awesome. So, okay, Scout and Nolan, you are mostly on screen for this entire movie, the two of you together. So what was it like to work together? And especially because the emotions almost from the first minute are just completely heightened and everyone is at an extreme. So what was it like to work together in all of those emotional extremes?
Nolan's like my rock. we're very, very close. Like we do self tapes together. Like I'll, always ask him for advice. He is like my rock. He calms me down. So it was very fitting in this movie that, Nolan's character is trying to comfort Grace and bring her through this journey. So it's kind of a lot like our friendship in real life. So there wasn't much acting that had to happen between Nolan and I to have that, chemistry and that relationship together.
We had so much fun. Scout is a blast to work with and such a trooper. And yeah, it was great. Honestly, I think so fondly back on my time filming this because it was nice because it was just the two of us. And so we really just got a chance to like live in this world and there weren't really any distractions. So it was easy to kind of believe like that it was all really happening.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys have a great dynamic on screen, even though Nolan, your character is a little bit rude. But
The New Yorker.
New Yorker.
And I think one of you mentioned Nolan, it was you who mentioned like how big the space was that you were working with. So I wanted to hear more about that space that you guys were on and what it was like to both be kind of confined in a house, but also have all of this property to be on. It's a really interesting contrast throughout the movie of the home invasion versus the running around in the woods / the huge immense property.
It helps to give that sense of isolation. Mm-hmm. And what was great about the cult was that you could kind of project whatever you wanted onto them because they were sort of tribal, but also quite mysterious. And you never knew who was underneath. And so I think that being kind of in the middle of, because it was a pretty long drive to work and it was just all, trees, right? And so you would kind of show up. And I found that having that scope made it feel that much more easy to just kind of drop into what was happening.
Cool. That's awesome. And then how did you find that location? Or were they already filming, Rich? Like when you said South Carolina, so like had they already found a location for everything?
They hadn't started filming, but actually one of the producers owned that place, so yeah, it belongs to him. And it's actually interesting because as a bit of trivia, it's the oldest standing wooden structure in South Carolina. Like it predates the country. So
that's creepy.
Yeah. Imagine what we felt like stepping onto set every day. There was definitely.
Do you have any creepy experiences? Is it haunted?
There's definitely some weird vibes going around that place.
Yeah.
It's definitely haunted with alligators, and there's a lot of alligators on the property.
Oh my God, no, thank you. That sounds like a nightmare.
Run in a zigzag, you'll be fine.
Exactly.
Okay, Scout, your performance in this is incredible. You go like full feral at a couple points and it's really good. Like I mean that in a good way of just like tapping into like screaming and catharsis, and it's really awesome and incredible to see. So what was it like for you to film some of those scenes? I'm thinking especially when you have a wrench, a certain scene with a wrench. I'll just say that for now. And I'm just curious what it was like for you to kind of embody Grace's character and kind of as the film progresses, just go all out, like great and crazy.
It's fun, it's so much fun to do characters like this. I've done a character like this with Rich before in Ghost House. So I kind of discovered that I could have that weird possessed kind of thing with my voice and be able to do that with my body on Ghost House with Rich. So this was just more like advanced. And I prepared Nolan the first time when I had to scream, and I can kind of go in and out of like this weird voice and growl and kind of thing. I just had to prep him, because it was the first time he had ever seen it, and everybody on set I've worked with before. So
and on set, we're like on a bed, and then she starts doing it, and I'm just like, oh my God, what is happening?
That's incredible. You're like, wow, great, but also I'm horrified.
Yeah.
Dude, that is just wow. It's amazing, but it almost feels like you're sort of liberated as you do it though, Scout. Like it takes a lot out of you, but it's really quite kind of riveting to watch. Like you said, terrifying.
Oh yeah, Mary, I've said this before. I've said this with like a lot of movies that I do. It's a therapy for me. It's like it's
Yeah.
free therapy. I get it all out on set. Really is what it is.
And I need therapy after witnessing it. So it's we're all-
That's funny.
Okay. And so I know that all of you have been involved with quite a few horror projects, and I'm curious what draws all three of you, continue to draw you to horror. And Rich, I'd love to start with you about like why you like to direct horror projects like Ghost House. I see the poster in the background and this movie.
Yeah, shameless. No. One of the things I like about horror is it affords you the opportunity to infuse a lot of style and sort of maybe kind of surrealistic and strange moments, and people don't bump on it. It's very much part of the genre. It doesn't come off pretentious. You can do all sorts of strange things that you couldn't do in a sort of more grounded genre like a comedy or a straight thriller or something, so you can take it to these kind of more bizarre places, and it's just kind of like another day at the office for a horror fan,
For sure.
So that's one of the things I really have always loved about the genre.
That's awesome. Scout, what about you? You've been in so many horror movies. So obviously you like the genres.
I do. I grew up, my dad's a mortician, so I grew up in a mortuary. So I've been around. Yeah, I've been around the horror world my entire life. So it's kind of like a comfort for me. But as Rich says, I think I love the genre because you can push the envelope, and not get judged by it. There's just so much you can do with it. And, who doesn't like being bloody and being a badass?
Exactly.
I'm not really ever drawn to just one specific genre. For me, I'm a little bit more, it's like what's the role? What's the story like?
Okay.
I also like things that are genre bending. That's why I was happy to be a part of The Flight Attendant, was because I thought doing like a TV show that's a comedic thriller was something that was unique and original. And I thought this movie had potential to be unique because it was kind of like this artsy blockbuster. You had, this sort of like wry, fun sense of humor, and then kind of these Star Wars looking monsters. But then you also had, there was elements of the gore and the blood, but it kind of I don't think it really like fits in one box, and so that was kind of part of the intrigue for me.
Cool. And so I'm curious, this is for Rich, but also the two of you, I'm curious, what if you were going to program a double feature with The Long Night, what other movie would you pair with it?
Oh man, that is
wow.
a
Whoa.
good question.
I did steal that from one of my friends. She always asks that, and it's my favorite interview question, and I love to ask it because it's really, it always gets people thinking, and I love it.
I would say if I had to pick one that I think might play well with would maybe be The Wicker Man.
Ooh.
Because of the sort of pagan, I mean, and not the remake, but the original, like that.
Nicolas Cage's remake where he yells about bees.
Yeah, that was a misfire. But no, the original is like I think a great film, and because of the sort of surrealist kind of pagan elements in that film, I think it would make a nice pairing.
Cool.
Wow. I mean, I guess I'd have to go with what Rich said, the Wicker Man, maybe with like a little bit of, when I first read it and kind of what he was going off is like strangers, if they had a baby.
Yes, I was thinking about, especially when you hurt your foot and you're limping around, you reminded me of Liv Tyler, like
right?
running through the woods. I was like, very Strangers vibes. I definitely got that watching.
If Wicker Man and Strangers had a baby, it would be The Long Night.
Yeah.
I like
on the
that.
poster.
I was gonna say headline of the article, Stranger. I mean, I think that'll get people to watch it for sure.
Right?
Seriously. So those were all the questions I had for y'all today, and I really appreciate you taking the time to chat about The Long Night. And thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much.